Back to work.
Right. Back to work. Right. Crikey.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Greetings. Welcome back to the Legend of Korra, Book 4, Spoilercast. I don't know if that's how the music goes.
I don't think that's how it goes at all. But we can't be exact because it's copyright infringement.
True. Anyway, this is the Spoilercast for Episode 2, Book 4, Korra Alone.
Korra Alone.
That's a familiar title.
So we're going to be talking a lot in this episode about Bolin, obviously.
Yeah, clearly.
But no. I keyed. This one's all about what happened to Korra in the 3 years, mostly. What happened to Korra in the 3 years between books.
Yeah, it gets us caught up to date on Korra, which is nice that they did it one episode, did everything, kind of a present and then also flashbacks, kind of tying everything together for us.
I think she was she had the most complicated 3 years, because everyone else we could pretty much go, oh yeah, okay, that's what they've been doing for the last 3
and I
years.
like, they gave us the letters to Korra, and you can see everybody else was succeeding, getting on with their life.
Right.
Doing what they wanted to do. They were able to make the choices they wanted to make in this world that they helped save. And they were able to do what they wanted to do, Bolin got to work with Kuvira alongside Varric like he wanted to. Something he was excited about. Mako went back to being a detective like he always wanted to be on the beat. And Asami was in charge of her company and making, big business deals and getting to help rebuild the city.
Right, and Korra was stuck in a wheelchair, not able to do it.
For a long time, too. Not just like a couple weeks. She was stuck in that wheelchair for months. Like 6 months before she could finally start taking steps.
Right.
Which was a really amazing scene. Like, just that, her taking those steps and then, at the end of it, being able to kind of embrace Naga. Like, that was the reward. It was,
right.
Everybody's had one of those moments, I think. With, a pet being there for you when you need him most.
And then they fast forward right from that scene almost to her. I think the first thing is to her training, where what's his name comes to see.
Yeah, Tenzin.
Tenzin comes to see her.
This is like 1 to 2 years though. I think this was 2 years later. So she's training with the White Lotus again, and seems like she's doing okay. And then she tells them to attack her, and they do, and then she sees Zahir and flips out, and then she can't defend herself. She starts out okay, but she's having these. She keeps seeing Zahir and keeps seeing the things that cause her harm, and then she loses her focus and concentration, and then ends up almost getting hurt again. And tying into all that is that we're in the present day. We're seeing that she keeps seeing a vision of herself in the Avatar state from that battle with the chain wrapped around her arm, her clothes torn up. With, looking extremely, angry or, like, just, that look she had in her face in that fight where she was on pure instinct.
Right.
Where it was all rage.
And it's the personification of PTSD.
It was weird because being the Avatar, she's more than one person. She's, Korra, and then she's also the spirit of Rava, the light spirit. So we're seeing Korra's PTSD in these visions and the fact that she keeps seeing Zahir and the other threats. And even when she was being poisoned, she was having visions, hallucinations too. I think that we're seeing in this Avatar state version of her that keeps attacking her, that's Rava herself having PTSD from the battle. They got separated, or, at least Rava's being projected externally to deal with PTSD, and they keep going at each other.
Right, because we learn that vision she keeps having isn't just her seeing it, isn't her just freaking out.
No, because it's other things can see it too.
It's
notably a spirit,
Yeah, spirits can see it. So, because they show her fight it twice, and people are like, "What is wrong with this girl?" Because they don't know it's the Avatar because she's cut her hair. Let's go. Let's say that right off the rip. But
she tosses away all her clothes, all her worldly belongings.
Well, she was going back to Republic City when she first left.
She got there, and then she sees a vision of herself on the next to the Aang statue, staring her down, and then she turns around and leaves. She drove herself out of Republic City, pretty much. Which, there's a lot of freaky stuff happening like that. She wants to go back to Republic City. She thinks she's desperately trying to reconnect with herself. and by that, she, the Avatar side of herself. So she thinks going to Republic City from the South Pole might help. She thinks going to the Spirit World. She ends up going, I think, to one of the poles. I think it looked like the South Pole because it had the forest. And then she tries to sit in the Tree of Time to meditate.
Because she had so many visions last time she did.
Yeah, but nothing's working. And I think it's because her and her become so far removed from each other because of the events of the end of book 3.
Right.
And it was amazing to watch. Like, I know it sounds like it's really, really disturbing and sad, and it was, but at the same time, it was also a really great episode because it really lets you see how Korra was working. Because as she was getting more frustrated with her position, you kind of saw that veneer that she had developed over the last 2 seasons of being the Avatar and being more mature peel back, and she was season 1 Korra again, lashing out and fighting and being kind of just very impatient about everything.
Right.
She couldn't be patient about her own recovery. Everything had to happen right then and there again.
Well, and I think she kind of wants to punish herself for not being able to be strong enough at the end of book 3. You know what I mean? Because that's what, like, her spirit self or whatever leads her to the fighting ring. You know what I mean? Like, and then where she gets the crap kicked out of her. Yeah,
that we saw at the end of the last episode. Yeah. The projection of her Avatar self led her there. And then when she was in the ring, she was seeing her opponent as the Avatar version of herself. And that's when she was screaming at it, "Is that all you got?"
Right.
She's having she's having this inner dialogue, but she's having it out loud because she's hallucinating or seeing things.
Right.
And it's fascinating that we're seeing the Avatar having such a schism because we're not with Aang, he was never at war with his Avatar side. Spiritually he was already very balanced, and it was just he needed to learn how to control the other elements and learn how to be kind of the bridge between worlds and between peoples.
Right.
With Korra, it's always been a spiritual battle.
Well, with Aang, I think with Aang, he didn't know, that he had a spirit bound with him that was what made him the Avatar. At least not in the series, you know what I mean? Like,
no.
And so he didn't look at the Avatar state as like, is it Jinora? The Jinora, like, taking over, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like... Because that's kind of how I look at it now because of this whole projection thing. Like, I think that is Jinora, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't think Aang had that...
you mean Rava, the spirit?
Yeah, Rava.
Oh, Jinora's Tenzin's daughter.
Oh, okay,
Who can project.
He didn't... I don't think because he didn't know Rava was there. He didn't understand what the Avatar was. And we didn't understand it until the Korra series.
But
so, I don't
even
know
that aside, he was never at war, or he never had trouble with the spiritual side. He could go into the Avatar state at will. And he never had these kind of internal battles that Korra's having. He never suffered from PTSD even when he almost died.
Right.
He wasn't projecting a version of himself to fight.
Right.
He was at peace inside himself. He was frustrated with the world and not that people thought he was dead or that he wasn't doing enough to help other people. He wasn't angry at himself.
Right.
He wasn't at war with himself or a part of himself at least. And I liked the metaphor there at the end when she went back to the swamp, which is another callback. We saw the callback of the swamp. We also saw a callback of the Kyoshi Warrior episode with Aang when Korra goes to this like random island, and the guy who's selling fish or whatever has a picture on his wall of Aang twirling these little seaweed wraps like he twirled those balls back in the first season of Avatar. So here he is like in his 30s with the same dumb look on his face twirling things between his hands.
And it's really the first time you see Aang being Aang as an adult. Like, every time you've seen him in this series so far, he's been super serious and I am the last Airbender. The Airbenders depend on me, and like this whole serious role that he's taken on. And it's nice to see that he kept his lightheartedness. In his later years. So.
But then she goes to the swamp, the swamp of visions, which is a pretty perfect place for her to go, and she is attacked then by her Avatar herself.
Right.
And she tries to escape, but she gets dragged as the Avatar herself starts melting into a pool of the poison. and then she gets yanked down into it, and then she sinks into it, and it turns out that was actually her passing through like this little, trap door or whatever, but it was the metaphor of her actually passing through the poison again, and then she awakes to find that she's being tended to by this old lady living in the swamp, who turns out to be Toph.
Yeah.
She, whether the spirits led her to Toph, or how, obviously that's what happened. The spirits led her to somebody that could help her, and then lo and behold, we have Toph living as a little hermit in the swamp.
Right.
And she calls Korra Twinkle Toes, and I fucking lost it. I was so happy.
That was awesome. I'm really interested to see how Toph is going to help her. I know that she's been traveling the world, trying to find enlightenment or whatever, so
yep.
It'll be interesting to see what she's learned.
Yeah, and she's living in a swamp where you see visions of your past, your future, your present. The swamp where Aang first saw Toph. So there's gotta be some kind of connection there that this is the place the Avatar, saw a vision of Toph before meeting her that would tell him that she was the earthbending trainer and then the friend he was looking for.
Right. And
that Korra was taken to the same swamp and then runs into Toph, and there's no coincidence there.
Right.
It means something. Now, what it is, we can only speculate right now.
Right, until next week.
But Toph has a way of helping people kind of find their center, because you remember the training she put Aang through back in season 2 of The Last Airbender, the episode Bitter Work, where it was all about finding your foundation and finding your center and your balance. And I feel like that's going to be a lot of what's going to happen here. But on a spiritual side versus an actual bending, physical side of it.
Right.
Toph is going to be the person that helps Korra find her balance or center again.
Right. I could definitely see that. That makes perfect sense.
That's what she's good at.
And, I guess we'll have to wait and see, because that's pretty much everything that happened in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of just building on Korra, seeing how she was descending into despair, and a lot of the malaise she was feeling of being inactive while everybody else is all around her is going on with their lives and doing these things they want to do, and she can't do anything at all.
She feels powerless, yeah.
She felt like a prisoner in her own body. She was tucked away at the South Pole for years. Katara had a nice, long appearance in this one too. She was trying to heal her and help her out. But in the end, Korra is a prisoner of her own mind.
Right.
And her body is reacting as such. She can't be as strong or capable as she was because she mentally can't allow herself to be, or won't allow herself to be. So
I think that she's really afraid. She's lost her confidence, and she doesn't know what to do.
She saw death. She looked death in the eye and she blinked.
Right.
Which most people do, Like we said, she's suffering from PTSD clearly. And it's not something that's going to go away overnight.
Right.
She's not going to be able to just shake the fear. Because that's not something that's possible. This will be something that she has to cope with every day for the rest of her life.
Right. And hopefully we'll see the transition of that.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's not some quick fix that we're going to get.
Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't see them doing that, but...
Yeah. It reminds me a bit of beginning of season 3 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Or no, it was beginning of season 2, I'm sorry. Where Buffy was suffering from PTSD when her near-death experience. Or, well, she was dead. And then she got CPR'd back to life. But her heart stopped. And after that, she kind of was acting out and just, behaving very differently and very kind of just aggressively. And again, it was because she was suffering from PTSD. She hadn't taken the time to actually cope with the fact that she died. And then it was brought back and then has to find the strength to carry on, fighting all these, vampires and other demons.
Right.
The fact that she's already died once. And it's at 16 years old.
Right.
So I think Korra's going through the very exact same thing now. She has to find a way to carry on and find whatever it is inside her that lets her look past what's happened to her and look towards what she's going to do now.
Right.
She's concerned about the Earth Kingdom falling apart. She's concerned about not seeing her friends. She's concerned about not living up to her duties. And those are all, I guess, good things to be concerned about, but they aren't going to help you recover.
No, they're not.
They're going to put a lot more pressure on you than you need.
Right.
She needs to focus on something a bit more small term, a bit closer, something more intimate.
I think that what they should really do in this book is we've seen the fighting, we've seen people trying to take down the Avatar for their whatever reasons. She's really concerned about the Earth Kingdom. I'd like to see her take a more political role. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what she needs. You know what I mean? Like,
she should be a mediator, not a fighter.
Right. And I think maybe she needs to learn that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, everything she's done up to now, she's basically resolved with her force.
Right.
She tried to be a mediator a bit in season 1. Mm-hmm. Trying to keep the benders and anti-benders from being at each other's throats, and it didn't really work. Mm-hmm. And then in season 2, she was trying to be the go-between between her dad and her uncle, and it didn't work. Mm-hmm. So every season, she's trying to be this kind of, this mediator, a moderator for everybody else, somebody that's neutral. Right. And then she always has to resort to force because people don't take her seriously. Mm. So that would be interesting to see if she somehow can, after these experiences she's gone through, if she all of a sudden, emerges as somebody people will take seriously from just her words and not just her actions.
Right. That'd be cool. Yeah. I'd like to see that. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. So I think that'll wrap it up for this week. Really good episode. I'd say it's in my top 5 of the entire series. I mean,
it packed a lot into. I couldn't believe it was only 20 minutes long,
and it was gorgeous. Yeah. The animation was just absolutely gorgeous.
Definitely, yeah.
So we'll be back next week for episode 3. Mm-hmm.
Does it have a title yet?
I'm sure it does. I don't know it.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure
what
it is either. So
that clock is ticking ever closer to midnight when the show is going to be done forever.
Right.
But we'll be along for the ride every week.
Heck yeah. Same Doom time, same Doom channel. Pouring
out a little bit for our homies in the Avatarverse and repping the Fire Ferrets like I am. I got my Fire Ferrets t-shirt on. If I got to rep my favorite pro bending team.
Right.
Even though they used to be way better back in the day when they were sponsored by Future Industries. Nowadays, I don't even hear about them anymore, man. They're not even on the radio.
Right, it's crazy.
What's going on? I want my Fire Ferrets. I want my Fire Ferrets games on TV.
You gotta get the You gotta get the Pro Bending channel, man. Pro Bending package.
I know, but Comcast is gonna try to butt fuck me on the price. All right. Well, for Podcast to Do, I'm that guy Todd.
Yep, I'm Friar Dan.
We'll catch you next week.
Yep.
Spoilers.